In today's video, we are going to make some delicious vegan appetizers, and these are really plant-focused with some wholesome ingredients, but they don't taste healthy. Not that I have anything against healthy. In fact, I really love healthy food, but I want decadent, rich, and comforting foods to serve to my family and friends around this time of year. And just when I'm making myself a snack, I want it to be as delicious, as enjoyable as possible with good ingredients that make me feel good. That's the goal. If I can check all those boxes, I'm a happy camper, and these recipes do just that. Thank you to Mi Rancho for teaming up with me, and let's get started. I'm going to start by making the filling, and for this I'm just going to go ahead and mash 2 cans of chickpeas. I like to use chickpeas, but you could also do white beans, and I'm just doing this with a fork until it looks about like this consistency. You could also do this in a food processor and just pulse a couple times for a really quick and easy way to mash them. Then I'm going to add the chickpeas to a bowl along with some mashed sweet potato. This is 1.5 cups of mashed sweet potato, but don't worry about the measurements. Everything is in the description box under this video. Then I'm going to add some chipotle salsa. This is a quick way to add lots of flavor. I love cooking with salsa as well as using salsa as a dip because it just has so much flavor, and you get like a really quick way to add a lot of bang to whatever it is that you're making. So this is going to add a really nice kind of chipotle kick and also offer some moisture to the filling. Then I'm going to season with some taco seasoning. You can do regular or spicy depending on your preference, and finish with some salt and pepper. That's all you have to do to make the filling. Just mix it all up in a big bowl and set that aside. Then I'm going to pick out my tortillas. Now, I usually like to use these, which are a mix of corn and flour from Mi Rancho, but I also really like this recipe with the organic ancient grain tortillas. There's something about the flavor of the ancient grains that's really nice with the taco seasoning, sweet potatoes, and chickpeas. Then comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and assemble the taquitos. You want to add about 2 tablespoons of filling to the center of the tortilla. Now, I tend to add a little bit too much, so definitely try not to overstuff the taquitos, otherwise they're going to be hard to roll, but 2 tablespoons is perfect. Go ahead and sprinkle on some vegan cheese and roll these tightly. I do like to go ahead and just place them on a baking sheet because we're gonna bake them instead of deep frying them. So they're gonna be a little bit lighter and not super greasy. And I find that just sticking a couple of toothpicks into each taquito helps them to hold their shape while they're baking. Because I'm not deep frying these, I like to brush a very thin layer of oil on top of the tortillas. This is gonna help them get nice and crispy and golden brown. It adds a beautiful flavor and also really enhances the texture. These are gonna go into the oven until they're slightly crispy around the edges and the filling is warm, the cheese is melted. And while those bake, I go ahead and I make the sauce, which is basically a very simple pared down avocado crema. To do this, I'm just going to mix together 2 ripe avocados along with some lime juice, some garlic powder, and salt. Blend that until smooth, and it's that simple. When the taquitos come out of the oven, they're going to be nice and golden brown. And remember, that filling is going to have kind of a smoky chipotle, sweet potato, chickpea spiciness going on with that melty cheese. So I really like the combination of a vegan sour cream replacement like this delicious coconut yogurt and the avocado crema on top. The topping is nice and cool and creamy, and it really complements all those delicious spices inside the taquitos and also helps to kind of counter the heat a little bit. Plus, that fresh lime juice in the avocado crema really brings everything to life. These taquitos are so fun to eat. They're a big crowd pleaser, and especially if you zigzag the toppings like this, it really looks perfect for a party. Up next, we've got a plant-based queso that has a chipotle kick. It's not too spicy, but it's super flavorful, and it comes together really fast. I'm going to start by adding soaked cashews to the blender along with some thawed frozen butternut squash. Then I like to add my plant milk before I add my spices to prevent them from sticking to the side of the blender. I'm going to add some nutritional yeast for cheesiness, some salt, onion granules, and turmeric for color, with a little bit of cayenne for kick. Then I add the secret ingredient, which is cornstarch, which is really going to help to create a delicious queso consistency. Blend that on up. This comes together so fast, you guys. You're just going to basically warm it through and it's ready to serve. Heating it up is really what's going to activate the cornstarch and create that perfect texture. And we're going to finish this with 2 secret ingredients. The first is Mi Rancho's organic chipotle salsa, which adds a lovely smokiness and so much flavor from the tomatoes and onions and spices. And the second is a spoonful of the brine from a jar of pickled jalapenos. This combination adds so much flavor to our cheese sauce without making it too spicy. Once it's warmed, it's going to be nice and thick, that perfect dippable cheesy consistency, even though there's actually no cheese in this at all. It has a beautiful like cheddar cheese flavor, which makes it so good with a crunchy, salty tortilla chip. These are perfect for dipping into the warm queso with a little bit of salsa on top. It's so irresistible. You guys are going to love this. All of the recipes that you see in this video are right under the video in the description box right right where it says see more. I get questions sometimes like, where's the written recipe? It's always under the video. And that's also where you'll find a link to try Mi Rancho and get 20% off their products. I love that everything is vegan friendly and just very, very authentic and flavorful. I really love using salsas in particular with my cooking when I'm making quick meals. Like whenever I just want to inject a meal with like really fast flavor, I go for salsa. So for example, my green quinoa chili is made almost entirely with Mi Rancho salsa verde. I'll put that recipe below. And also when I make tofu scramble, for example, a really great way to add a lot of flavor in just a couple of seconds is to spoon some salsa into the tofu scramble. So I do stuff like that all the time. When I'm making refried beans, I'll scoop some salsa into it and mash that all together. It just adds quick flavor. So I love keeping Mi Rancho salsa on hand. So if you want to try Mi Rancho salsas, tortillas, they even have gluten-free tortillas and whole wheat options, or their tortilla chips, click the link in the description box below and use my code to get 20% off your order. And now let's get back to the recipes. And finally, we've got an appetizer classic, which is spinach artichoke dip. And traditionally, spinach artichoke dip is made with a mix of cream cheese, sour cream, mayonnaise, and 2 different kinds of cheeses. So lots of dairy, but instead of just swapping out those ingredients for vegan ingredients, I made a plant-based version that is packed with some really wholesome ingredients, but it still has that creaminess, it still has that cheesiness, it still has that irresistible quality. And I'm not just saying that as hyperbole, I mean it is literally irresistible. Every time I've been opening the fridge recently, I see it in there. I have to have some. Like all throughout the day, I've had spinach artichoke dip like punctuating my days for the last couple of days because it's so good. We're gonna start by sweating a yellow onion over medium heat. You don't want this to really brown or caramelize. We're just going to saute for a couple minutes until translucent. In the meantime, I go ahead and I take 1 can of artichoke hearts and I add it to, you can do a food processor or blender, whatever you have. You just want to pulse a few times until it's really finely chopped, basically like tapenade consistency. This is going to be absolutely perfect in our spinach artichoke dip. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add some garlic to the onions along with our chopped artichoke. Then I'm gonna take some thawed frozen spinach and squeeze all the extra water out just into a clean tea cloth like this. This is going to ensure that we have a really nice, thick, creamy dip. Then I pulse the spinach in the same food processor just so everything is really nice and small and cohesive. This is going to create the perfect consistency in our dip. All that's left to do is make the sauce, which is just cashews, plant milk, and some nutritional yeast with spices like salt, onion powder, and nutmeg, which is the secret ingredient. Nutmeg is so good with green vegetables like spinach. I'll add a little olive oil and fresh lemon juice, and that is it. It's like one of those throw everything into the blender and it's done kind of sauces, which I love. Add that to the pan along with some shredded vegan Parmesan cheese and the remaining plant milk, which I actually like to put in the blender and shake a little bit to make sure I get every last bit of that cream sauce into the pan. This is going to heat through, get nice and thick and creamy, and it's ready to serve. The artichokes and the spinach and the onions and the garlic become so creamy and just everything blends together so perfectly. I love the hints of lemon, a little bit of nutmeg and black pepper. It really ties it all together. I hope you enjoyed these appetizer recipes. I can't wait to hear which one you make first. And if you make any of these recipes, make sure you tag me on Instagram at Nikki Vegan. Don't forget to check out Mi Rancho in the description box below, and I will see you guys in a video very soon. Bye.